Hello YouTube world, my name is Nicholas Montez and welcome back to my YouTube channel video everybody. And today's video, we're doing a special video. Today we are reviewing the latest film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Thunderbolts, which came out in theaters this weekend. The second film of our MCU films, the final film in Phase 5, and the somewhat weird ending to Phase 5. And that means pretty much we are in the multiverse saga for MCU films, which means the next movie we'll be getting is Fantastic Four, the First Steps. The Fantastic Four's First Steps. But, yeah, so, before we start talking about the Thunderbolts, I think it's very clear that we talk about what were my thoughts going into Thunderbolts before all of this. So my thoughts going into this movie were very hit or miss. For one, Marvel hasn't really been the best of the peak right now. And, you know, they always have this trend where something is good or bad. And I feel like this kind of started with 2022 movies, especially their films with, like, with Doctor Strange. It was good. Not great, but good. Thor the Thunder, pretty bad. Wakanda Forever, great. Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania, bad. Guardians 3, amazing. Marvel's was actually pretty good. I won't lie. I actually liked that one. And then, it was okay, though. Deadpool Wolverine, great. Brave New World, okay. And now this one, it's great. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But I was a little nervous for it at first because when they first announced the movie, I was, of course, very excited for that. Because there's something extraordinarily interesting about doing this idea of anti-heroes in the MCU teaming up to go save the world. Now, obviously, a bunch of anti-vigilantes, villains, bad guys turning into heroes, obviously is nothing original because everybody thinks that this the Suicide Squad of the Marvel Universe. Well, I think that's kind of cool, and you get to see a lot of these characters have a redemption arc, and it's a cool story, especially to do in this universe. And, you know, there's definitely some of these characters that need to be redeemed. And, you know, I'm like, oh, this would be so cool. Get all this cool action, all these cool characters. And then we got the first look at the team, and I wasn't really a big fan of it. Mainly because a lot of the characters are just characters that can punch and shoot. Now, I'm totally okay with that, but you gotta make the power scale, like, a little more unique. Beyond that, there were just some members that I just didn't really think they should be on this team. Now, for the characters that I was okay with being on the team, which were Yelena, US Agent, and Ghost, perfectly fine with them being in the team. I loved them, I liked their characters, they were great. Because Yelena, she has a deep backstory that needs to be explored, plus she's very likable. You have US Agent, who was Captain America, and he killed someone out in cold blood, and so he has an emotional core there. You have Ghost, who had a lot of history with phasing and stuff in Ant-Man and the Wasp, so there's a story to explore with her. But when you get into characters like Red Guardian, Winter Soldier, and Taskmaster, especially Winter Soldier, his story's already completed. Now, it does make sense because he is the long-running, you know, character in the MCU since Phase 1 of the Thunderbolts that's been here. So, it kind of makes sense that he would be here because, you know, his arc was already completed in Falcon Winter Soldier. Now he's a congressman, but he's sort of going back to the action side. And so it's kind of like, it's kind of cool that he was leading the team a little bit. But then also, Red Guardian, as much fun he was in this movie, which we'll talk about in a little bit, I feel like he should be in a Winter Guard project. If Marvel wants to do that, and you want to bring Red Guardian back for a Marvel project, bring him back in Winter Guard. Now, I don't know exactly the status of what the Winter Guard is like in the MCU, but if you were to do a flashback 1960s, 1950s Winter Guard movie, I think that would have been really cool. And then Taskmaster, well, what do you do with Taskmaster? I mean, they don't really do much with her in this movie, which is good, but still, what do you do with her unless it's not Tony Masters? It's so weird. But yeah, so that all that stuff was, and then also the villain, they casted a guy. They had all the casting of Sentry, but they even casted a guy that is so much more powerful than our main heroes that they can't even beat. Which, if you've seen in Captain America: Brave New World, where you have a vibranium Falcon-sized Captain America fighting a fiery Red Hulk. Not a very good sign. Now with this, you at least have a team, but they're not really powerful to stop this guy. And it does lead into some of my frustrations with the movie. But we then saw the reviews for it at fan screenings, and we hear it's like one of the best Marvel films ever made. We hear it's a great film. It's the film that really brings us back to Marvel days, to where it's able to be funny, it's able to be action-packed, but it's able to be emotional about mental health, and it's able to connect the universe in a good way. And I'm like, wow. This movie, I was so... And even with the trailers that came out about this all the time, I was like... The first trailer, I was like, okay, this is good. It's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure it'll probably be better once I see the movie, but I don't really have a lot of excitement for this. And then you go into the other trailers, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna lie, they're kind of doing a good job in convincing me this is gonna be a really good movie. And then we got the Rotten Tomato score. At first it was a 95, but for like 4 minutes, then dropped down to like a 90. And I believe it is still a 90. And now I finally have seen the movie, and it is great. It's really, really great. And there's so many details to kind of discuss with this movie that I want to explore. First off, let's talk about our team here, which I think this is the main thing you got to talk about. And I think our team really worked well together. Let's talk about Yelena as our main character of the film. I'm just going to say this. Yelena is the best character to come out of the MCU since Endgame. Not only is she well layered and well fleshed out, but she's so charismatic. She has great chemistry with everyone, to where I'm almost thinking she could be the next Tony Stark. Now, granted, Tony Stark had all the charisma, but he wasn't exactly as emotional. And one of the unique things about Yelena is I love that they're following her story as she basically is just alone. You know, they're doing this story of... Because you were introduced to her in Black Widow, and honestly, she's probably one of the most heartbreaking characters in the entire MCU, because she gets left by Natasha during the, 2000s? During the 2000s, in 2006, she escapes. They made up back in 2016. She gets dusted, loses her sister, tries to go on a revenge mission to get revenge on the person that killed his sister. Well, personally, that she thinks killed her sister. And now she's stealing, and now that mission is put aside, but she's doing all these other missions where she's coming home, drinking, go to work, kill people, and has regret on all the things that she does in her life. And I'm looking on that, I'm like, and she comes home and she's just so alone. And you're like, wow, even through all of that time, especially with Alexei being around, it's like, wow. She really is probably one of the most heartbreaking characters in the MCU. I'm like, wow. Yelena is, well, as funny and charismatic as she can be, this character is heartbreaking, man. So yeah, she was perfect. And I really liked her story with her. I really liked her relationship with Bob and the way the mental health stuff really portrayed in there. Next character I want to talk about is U.S. Agent. Hold on, I need to get a drink of water. U.S. Agent was a character that I was excited to see because I really liked him in Falcon Winter Soldier. And I liked that he was the Captain America that the government chose instead of Steve Rogers. And how that turned out. Now he's U.S. Agent working for Valentina. And the story that they kind of came up with here, with him, is what would there be a reason for him to still be a jerk in this show? And I mean, they do something with him that, like, how do we still make John Walker still a jerk in this movie? Because, you know, you think with everything that he's still, you know, pretty jerky, because even in Falcon Winter Soldier, he was still jerky without all the good stuff going on, because he was still a respected soldier. He had a loving wife and kid, and he was well respected for Captain America for a short while. And they put this story in here where about his wife and son, where and it's when he's pulling Bob up and he sees it, and he's not paying any attention to his son. He's not being a loving father. He's just sitting there looking at his phone, being rude and not doing what a father is supposed to do. And kind of just caring about his reputation more than his family. And there's a line later on in the movie where Bucky reveals, even though your wife and son left you, you're still a jerk. And you put everything together where you're like, wow. So that's why John is like that. And that's why certain people are the way they are, because we got personal things going on in our life. So I thought that was kind of really compelling. Sorry if I'm talking slow. My voice is like really weird and my nose is kind of clogged. Well, kind of, but not really. The other character, Ghost. So I'm kind of going through the characters that I wanted in this movie. So Ghost, we haven't seen her since Ant-Man and the Wasp, and kind of crazy that we haven't gotten anything of her since then. But it was still exciting to see her, and I thought what they did with her was kind of cool. It was a little bit. It took a minute for me to realize, like, the fact that she's now using guns, because before she just beats people up and wears a suit. But now she has that, the phasing abilities, and now guns. At the same time, I will say, there are times in this movie where it kind of feels like, why exactly is she here? Could there at least be one of the projects where she could have appeared to at least show her this, and I feel like they could have developed her a little more, but I feel like what they did with her, and especially some of her comedic moments, were actually kind of funny. She's not like the most appealing character, but she was a character that I actually started caring about throughout the movie, and I kind of liked. And then let's talk about the other characters, Winter Soldier and Red Guardian. Red Guardian, once again, if you know, this was one of the characters I did not want in the movie. Just keep him. I want him in Red Guardian. I want him in the Winter Guard movie or Winter Guard show. And I gotta say, I thought they handled him really well here. To where, I really like all his interactions with Yelena. To where he's miserable, he's not doing well, but at the same time, like, all the comedic scenes are great with him, but when he's able to be a good father, he's able to handle that really well. And David Harbour is like the comedic relief for this movie. And I love all the mentionings of the past and the way it connects with Black Widow. I really like all that stuff and learning more about that. And then Bucky, I thought was also a really good usage of him, to where he's kind of the most established of all of our heroes here. To where, like I said, he already has redemption arc, so what is the reason for him being here? Well, that's the perfect reason for him being there. He's already completed, but he's also the most famous anti-hero living today, and he's still alive. And so, who could be better to go ahead and save them and join the team and lead them into a better path? The Winter Soldier. The guy that was a mercenary since 1945. He could do that. And so I'm like, yeah, that's great. I really liked that. And then, of course, let's talk about our last member of the team, Taskmaster. Yeah, she's easily the worst member because she's only in here for like 2 minutes. Because Ghost kills her. And do I really care that she got killed? Not really. And I hate to say that, but it's like, what more could you have done with this character that you haven't done before? Like, there's just so much weirdness going on with this movie. And I feel like, especially since this is a weird version of Taskmaster, it almost feels like, what else could you have done to improve on him? Like, if you wanted to do, like, some practical action to, once again, like, get more scenes to, get more scenes to where she's able to use Avenger skills. Like, I saw a concept art of her using, like, Falcon wings or something like that. I'm like, that would have been cool. But and maybe we could have, like, done something to, do exciting action scenes. But honestly, it probably wouldn't have worked because this movie's not really... Because the movie's not really in a lot of locations, which is something I'll talk about in a minute. But it's almost like, if this was Tony Masters and he was joining the team, I think it would have been really cool, and you probably would have gotten a lot of stuff to where he's able to take off the helmet, and he's able to interact with our characters, and he's able to be and he's able to like be going toe-to-toe with Bucky, and kind of be that leader in a way. So I think that would have been really interesting. But once again, they wasted the character. He was wasted in Black Widow, and there wasn't really any potential for her to be better in this film. And then also, let's talk about Bob Sentry. I really liked Bob's character, as both him and Yelena, I thought, were the great representations of mental health in this movie. And I really liked their friendship in this one, to where basically Bob Reynolds was pointed to create a new type of superhuman because there are no Avengers, and we heard that his health is not right. He is a meth addict. He has all these addictions. He is depressed. His parents fight a lot and all this stuff. And we'll talk more about this when we get to the other side of this film, to where Sentry is not only used as like this heroic side to introduce a new character, but he has this other side to him called the Void, to where essentially that is the deepest, darkest secret, where it's going back to your past. And to me, I thought this was a very interesting concept to come up with, where instead of the villain being another big villain we need to defeat and we need to save the city, it's more about dealing with your own past and learning to forgive yourself and learning to love yourself and learning to just love and be together. And I really liked the way they portrayed that. Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, she was great. Julia Louis-Dreyfus was great. Mel, her assistant, I thought was cool. I didn't really have like big opinions on her or anything, but she was cool. Let's see, another thing I liked. And I guess we can talk about the technical aspects about this film. I really like a lot of the practical action. I mean, I really like the action at the beginning with like the Yelena mission. I thought that was really cool. I thought the fight scene in the vault was really cool. Like, I thought there was some violentness in it. I was not expecting. But then also, and like all the action scenes, I like how they're all practical. I also really like how it's able to have a unique style, to where there's not really a lot of action in this film, but it's more based off of characters and talking scenes, which I feel like since I've gotten older, I've actually tended to like that a lot more. And I feel like the talking stuff, like, because everybody compares this to like a A24 film, to where it has like, and especially in the way it does in the third act, and the talking scenes, and even the way the film looks, it really has an A24 vibe to it, which I really like. And I think overall, it is cool. And that, sorry, I'm trying to put my thoughts together because it's kind of hard to. But I also, so yeah, all the action was really good. I don't really think there was like a standout action scene, but it was really good. All the technical stuff, whether it's the score, which, was really good, and, going back to the A24 style that I talked about, the A24-ness of everything, part of the other reason what makes it kind of A24-like is because of all the movies that the stars have been in before, like Florence Pugh and Midsommar, and also the composers for this film did Everything Everywhere All at Once. So, and their score, actually, the score is one of the best parts about this film. I really liked the way they incorporated certain scores in the film in certain scenes. I'm like, oh, this just sounds really good. This might be a classic new score. And then also, like, even the score at the end when they reveal something, I thought was really cool. And even in the third act, which I also was kind of invested in, where obviously you have a team of heroes who are not fit to fight Sentry. So what is our final battle going to be like? We already tried to fight him. What's this final fight going to look like? We're going to go into the void, and we're going to go try to save Bob by giving him a big hug. When you look at the idea, it sounds kind of stupid, but in the execution of it all, and in the emotionalness of it all, it's actually really endearing. And for someone that, I mean, I don't go with mental health that far, but I deal with things emotionally and mentally. Hey, hell, we all do. And if y'all say you don't, you're lying to yourself, because I know you probably just try to hide your feelings deep down, and because you may not know this, but I know when you're alone, and you're all alone, you have no one is around with you, you probably cry. And don't say you don't, because everybody does. Because everyone has feelings. Alright, you can't just be nonchalant the whole time. You can't do that. Everybody cares. So, yeah. Let's see. And I really liked the style of it all, and just it almost felt like this should have been something that was in Doctor Strange too, that they should have done. And I think the other thing, I guess one of the final things I want to talk about here is I really liked just the cohesiveness of it all. That it's able to kind of feel connected. They're mentioning the events of Brave New World with Red Hulk. And now they're talking about we have no Avengers, so who's going to protect us? And now we know who our Avengers are. It's these guys. The bootleg Avengers. And I'm like, what? And I like that in the credits, the movie kind of comments on that. And not only that, but this reveals what the asterisk means for Thunderbolts, as it stands for the New Avengers. Which honestly feels kind of a weird thing for the asterisk, because isn't an asterisk supposed to be like a correction? And then the New Avengers is supposed isn't technically New Avengers? I feel like the way they did that was kind of weird. So then let's talk about our post-credit scenes. We get that one credit scene with Red Guardian in of New Avengers serial. I thought was okay. I thought was cool. And it was funny, but the main one is at the end of the credits, where it's basically 14 months later, and all the characters look completely different. One thing I really liked about this post-credit scene is when you enter it, and all the Avengers enter the new room, you start to realize the way the whole film looks now looks completely different from the film we were just watching. And like the color grading looks interesting, and everybody has been, and I saw a Soups video, and it says that I believe the Russo brothers were shooting that, and they were shooting Doomsday and Secret Wars, which, if this is what like Secret Wars and Doomsday is gonna look like with this like color grading, and does that like, I don't know if Doomsday and Secret Wars are gonna match the level of what Infinity War and Endgame were, but if they find some way, are they going to are they gonna are the Russo brothers finally gonna get that comic book feel of like the colorfulness of this nature? Like, is that what we're gonna be doing here? So I'm interested in that. But anyway, so it's been 14 months since they were announced they were the new Avengers, and we hear stuff about Sam Wilson basically saying, you guys can't be the new Avengers. I'm putting together the Avengers. Why can't he just accept that? Well, he's got the shield. Well, I have a shield technically, but yeah, but your shield's a crappy shield. And all this stuff and all that greatness. And then Yelena gets this call on like a monitor. Something is entering the atmosphere in space. And you see this spaceship. And you see a 4 on it. And it's the Fantastic Four ship. Which I'm like, and you hear the Fantastic Four theme, Michael Giacchino's Fantastic Four theme, and I'm like, oh, the Fantastic Four are coming, and what's so exciting is the Fantastic Four's first steps is the next movie. And a close-up Phase 5 is just fantastic. I overall really loved it. If I were to give you any negatives, honestly, I do kind of prefer my idea over this one. And that, like, yeah, I'm glad they tried something different. But at the same time, take a look at what James Gunn did. He was able to take all these wonderful characters that we never knew and make us care about them. This one had the perfect opportunity to explore those characters more. And what's actually so great about this one is we actually get to see stuff that's haunting them, stuff that is bothering them, stuff that goes on in their personal lives, instead of just talking about it. And I really enjoyed that kind of stuff. And then also, as much as I did not want Bucky or Red Guardian in this movie, I really enjoyed them to the point where I actually wanted them to be more in this movie. So that's the frustrating part about all of this. So yeah, that's kind of my general thoughts on Thunderbolts. Thank you guys for watching. Really hope you enjoyed. If you're going to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.